Let me do this. There you go. That would have been tragic. Okay. That's, all right. Can you guys hear me? Hey. All right. Our DJ was like, enough of the grooving. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Oluchi. I believe people are just gonna keep joining for the first few minutes. So we're just going to welcome people into the room for the first 5 minutes or so. Yeah. And as they join, Mr. DJ, please just keep it going. Keep it going until they say until they do it parties. DJ, cut. Exactly. Fantastic. All right. As you join in, please drop in into the chat. Just let us know your first name and what city you're joining in from. Thank you very much. Awesome. Awesome. I hope the chats are enabled. Yes. Fun fact, I have never actually seen Ladi dance. Oh. Never see him dance, but I do know he appreciates. There you go. There you go. That is what my people will call the dance of a big man. Yeah, it's a big man. They don't move too much, just nod their head. All right, love it. Also.
I would say that you're calling me fat when you say big man, but I'll believe it came from a good place.
It did, Ladi. Big in every sense of the word. Oh, especially your pockets. Awesome. All right. So let's just let's jump into it. DJ, I was wanted to do that. Awesome. All right. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Wherever you are, thank you guys so much for making out time to join this fireside chat. For those of you who've joined here and those who will be joining online, we thank you. Welcome. Today we're going to be having a conversation. We'll continue with our series around leading effectively during the era of remote work, and pretty excited to share the stage today with amazing individuals, Africans that are basically doing great things in their field around the world. And we just thought we'll hang out today and have a conversation. Spoiler alert, the amazing soundtrack that Ladi was dancing to a few minutes ago was music from one of our panelists today. Wambura Mikaru is a Kenyan musician, graduate of Berklee College of Music. She engraved her mark as a singer-songwriter at the age of 15. She has an interesting story from starting from being tone deaf and going all the way to be one of the first African females to win their scholarship award, full ride to Berklee. Wambura blends a different range of music in her work, from electric to R&B to jazz to hip hop. I can neither confirm nor deny that I think I spotted a video of her online singing one of Fela Kuti's songs. That's how diverse she is. um, and we're very happy to have her today. And when she's not performing, she's conducting classes at a music school where she is director of music. Thank you so much, Wambura, for giving us your time today. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Also on the call, all the way from the UK. She is what some people would like to call a one-man army. Paris Richard Chukas is an innovation consultant with Archipel and Co. in the UK. She has extensive experience in technology, innovation, and impact projects. All of that is a long way of all of that is a long way of saying that Flores absolutely loves people and is constantly obsessed with how she can contribute her part to make the world a better place for individuals. I know a lot of people say that as a cliche, but in a minute you're going to find out that Flores literally is obsessed with making people's lives better. Uh, she started a non-profit targeted at youth in Nigeria when she was quite young, and she's run and grown that over the past 5 years. And so, Prowess, a graduate of Heck Paris Business School, where she earned an MSc in sustainability and social innovation, she's here to join us in the conversation, and we're very, very happy to have you. Welcome, Prowess.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, last and in not anyway the least, the big man in the house, Mr. Ladi Ogunsilire, all dialing all the way from Canada. Quick joke, Ladi just woke up, so we forgive you in advance if you're still in that twilight zone, but we thank you for making our time. Ladi is how do I describe him? He's a technology delivery expert. He has almost 2 decades experience in the global tech industry, delivering software development, telecoms, financial services for large corporates, small and large corporates across Africa. At last count, Ladi has done work in a little over 25 countries in Sub-Saharan Africa and North America inclusive. Um, formerly with Mastercard, and now serial entrepreneur who has his hands in multiple businesses that are all focused on really improving the lives of the common man within Sub-Saharan Africa. Ladi, if I had one of those Forbes polls, I would say Ladi is one of those Africans to watch over the next 5 years, because this name will be coming up in many of your TechCrunch posts. We're very happy to have you here, Ladi. Thank you so much for making our time and for dreaming of us last night while you slept.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're gonna jump right into it. Today we're going to have a conversation around performance management. It's important to note that when we say performance manager, we're not really talking about appraisals, because I know a number of people on this call don't look forward to their performance reviews at work. So no worries, that's not what we're talking about here today. But we're hoping that at the end of this conversation, we would all leave with something, whether it's personal tips and hacks that I can employ to up my game and maintain my peak performance moving forward, or whether it's tips that I can employ for the teams that I lead or the teams that I'm part of, just so that our teams will be as efficient, if not more efficient, than the SEAL Team 6 that took down Osama bin Laden. Can I get a woot woot? Yes, all your mics are muted, so I know you said it. Awesome. So just before I bring in our panelists, we love to start with just understanding where where people's minds are at, right? Our audience. And so it would be great to just take a quick poll. Jonah, if you can share your screen, that would be very helpful. It'd be great to just take a poll to better understand people's perspective around the topic of today. Okay. 1 minute, that poll will be coming up now. Okay. Awesome. So all you have to do, just take your phone, scan the QR code, or you can go to slido.com and just input the numbers 1872-764. That's 1872-764. All right. Okay, so our first question, one word to describe how it has been for you trying to maintain your productivity during the era of remote work. So how's the experience been during this time? Just one word, the first word that comes to your mind. All right, let's keep it coming. And if you have more words, feel free to send. Challenging, struggle. Challenging, this seems to be winning. In the chat is the link, slido.com, 1872-764. Fluctuating, interesting. Daunting, yeah. Okay. Dramatic, interesting. Okay, somebody says there are plenty of distractions. This I can agree. Struggle. Very, very interesting. Please keep it coming. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Yes. Distracting seems to be winning, challenging, seems to be resonating a lot with our audience. Awesome. Okay, and in 10 more seconds. Okay. Exciting challenge. That's probably the only only positive thing here. Fighting with teammates. Please, if you wrote that, slide into my DM. I would love to have a personal one-on-one with what's really going on there. Why are we fighting? What's going on? Awesome. All right, so can we move to the second question quickly? Thank you so much for your responses. Awesome. Okay. All right. I'm currently struggling to maintain a consistent level of performance at work. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. Do you strongly agree? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you strongly disagree? Yeah, keep the votes coming. Strongly disagree. That person, the person who said strongly disagree, I want to know some of your hacks actually. And on a serious note, if you can share some of your tips with us, that would be great. It seems like a majority of our audience agree with this assertion. Okay, that's interesting. 57%. All right. Okay, and then finally, oh, that's 63 now. Interesting. All right, finally, a question. My team members are struggling to coordinate efficiently, and it's affecting our collective output. What do you guys think? Strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree? Someone says the team I work with doesn't deal in inconsistency. Oh, wow. Okay. Please just send us a link either so we can all apply to join that team. Also, okay. Seems like majority in the house sort of agree that their teams are struggling. Okay, interesting. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Interesting. All right, thank you so much for engaging in that little exercise. That's very helpful. I think the key takeaway from this is that we're right on the money, right? Our audience seem to agree. Everyone is really facing this problem, right? Whether it's as individuals or as a team. And so I just want to turn over to our panelists just a bit to have a conversation. What would you say are some of the, you've seen that the audience says that they're having challenges. So what do these challenges look like in the industry that you're in today? How do individuals struggle to bring their A game to every engagement and also maintain their peak performance, especially in this era of remote work? Now, for no reason other than the fact that we think music is really cool, I want to pick on you, Wambura. So what do these challenges look like in the music industry?
Okay, so hi everyone. Okay, now, so it's tricky with the music industry because most of the time we have to show up, and then people also have to show up. There has to be a physical meeting, right? So that things happen properly. So the first part, when it's the thing about people showing up is the thing, because sometimes it's very intense and you're like, I don't want to show up today, and you have to, because there are people expecting you to show up. That is not remote. Now when it's remote, the expectation is kind of like, must I? Is there really anyone on the other side waiting for me? Really? So that's a real challenge. Self-motivation and showing up no matter what. Because you see, what I've come to understand is showing up looks different on different days. Some days you're like really pumped up to be there and you show up. And then some days you're not even feeling it, but you show up, You're like, if it's a cup, it's a quarter, but you show up. If it's a cup of motivation, you're like full, you're pouring, you're bursting, you're bubbling, you show up. So I think the part of showing up is the one where you're like, I don't feel like I have powers today, but gonna show up, and it's very common in the music industry, because maybe one day your gig was fantastic, maybe the next day you feel terrible and you're like, I don't feel like anything in, but you have to show up, and you show up not just for yourself but even for the people who want to show up but can't, so it's very intense. I don't know if I've answered your question.
you you have, absolutely. Thank you so much, Wambura. Showing up. And honestly, I like to think everybody on the call, we're all fans of a musician somewhere, and our lives are better because you guys always show up, or at least have to. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because that's the reason why we love musicians. But what I'm hearing you say is that also tends to be the biggest challenge, like getting out of bed for you every single day, making sure you show up. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that. Prowess, from an innovation consultant's point of view, you're out there saving the world and telling big corporates how to make the world a better place and make money in a sustainable way. What does this challenge look like in maintaining your A game?
Honestly, thank you, Oluchi. I think Wambura covered it. On showing up is the key. It's a major challenge, and I think for me, my industry, we operate at this very, well, I say interesting bridge, because you're a consultant and you care about the money and everything, but you're also working in impact and you want to transform people's lives. So you have to bring a certain level of like empathy for the people that you are trying to add value to, as well as understanding of your clients, who is like a business-centered person. So on some days when you haven't eaten very well and you're very, very tired and you need to show up, sometimes it's like you feel the onus is on you to bring that positive energy and to bring that that like level of empathy and that care and that respect to the call. And sometimes that humanity is very challenging to pass across online. Like it's very hard to send that sort of energy when you're on Zoom or on some conference call where people are not even like their cameras are off, or people are just like doing something else. So I think that's like a big challenge that that we face in this space, or I personally face. Motivation.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks for that, Prowess. So is it safe to say that, so in your perspective, because your work begins and ends with, empathizing, right? And already, even before remote work, that was already hard to do because you have to be the person to bring the love essentially to what's going on. And now with remote work, people are somewhat disconnected. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
that makes it harder.
exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there any other thing you want to share about the difficulties?
What?
Any other thing you want to share around the difficulties in
I
your
mean,
space?
I think another thing is that as an innovation consultant in my space, so with my company, we do a lot of partnering with our clients and basically designing solutions that have economic and social and environmental value.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
part of the challenge with that is that we work on so many different topics at the same time. So sometimes you could be working on a project and it has to do with inclusive cities, and another time it could be about improved access in some other country. And so you end up jumping every day when you're working remotely. It's like you're jumping from one call to the other and one topic to the other. And sometimes, personally, I lose track of the topics sometimes, and I don't know what we're working on. And so it's that challenge of time management, managing your energy, and also better prioritization. What is most important right now? What do I have to focus on right now? What is the topic at the moment? Is this really important? What should I dedicate my energy to? So those kinds of questions sometimes are very like interesting challenge, and I'm sure you understand Oluchi because it's like the challenge of consulting. So yes.
Interesting. Thanks for that. You mentioned three buzzwords there: managing time, managing energy, and managing priorities. All the daunting words that that keep us awake at night. Ladi, how do these challenges manifest in your work?
Well, so I mean, in the fintech space, and let me speak to that. I think it's similar to what both panelists have shared, right? There are many things to pick from, many complex challenges. One of them I'll say is that the space is a developing one, and what you have is a lot of complex knowledge, or will I say subject matter expertise, that's fit into many different verticals. So you have many different people within a team. Everybody has their own individual knowledge areas that can be very deep. So you can imagine during an era like COVID, where there's not as much face-to-face, people have their cameras off. Prowess was mentioning that. Sometimes people are not showing up, or, motivation is waning, so you kind of find a situation where it's difficult to sort of flow with everyone else. Yeah, perhaps I'll use an anecdotal sort of
absolutely
framework, right? So I recall just a few years back trying to transition from one industry segment to another. So moving from a big card association, which I had been at for a number of years, to a smaller full service merchant acquiring space, right? So just trying to fit into that industry segment felt kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of knowledge, related knowledge, but like I said, each space has its own deep sort of knowledge base. So I think I felt quite a bit quite a bit challenged, from time to time, right? I didn't feel as confident as I would like, right? But I would say that, what I sort of tried to do in that instance was to relentlessly use routine and consciously taking notes as a way to sort of create some structure for myself and feel more confident in those situations. Yeah, I like to call it the Mamba mentality.
The whole mentality?
Mamba mentality. Those who are familiar with basketball and Kobe Bryant will know what I'm talking about. That show up every day, relentlessly, practice, relentlessly take notes. In our own situation, it's not shooting hoops or gymming, but copiously taking notes, relentlessly following routine, so that when you're on the off days, you're still able to perform.
Interesting. Wow, thanks a lot for that, Ladi. I'm sure like people in the audience are also wondering the same thing I'm wondering. I mean, you said that you were shifting into a new industry and you applied this Mamba mentality. What were the outcomes like? Did you get like a double promotion within the first 12 months? Or did they promote you to become like chief operating officer?
No, nothing like that. I think, so what we're talking about today is performance, right? And I will say that if I was to give that a little context, I'll say that in the earlier days of the role, I kind of felt overwhelmed. I tried to fall back on legacy knowledge. And that wasn't enough. There were times I'd show up and I just would feel that meeting didn't go as well as it should have. I didn't represent myself well enough. I'm not quite sure that, these people that I'm working with are seeing, what they expected to see and all that. And
so like imposter syndrome, kind of.
Yeah, so that imposter syndrome would come in. Yeah, but when I'm speaking about the Mamba mentality, it's like I'm saying, hey, just trying to follow a structure in the way you do things. Sort of something simple as waking up at the same time every day. This sounds very crazy. I actually make sure I make my bed as soon as I get up every day, right? Accumulating little wins. And then in the course of work itself, like I said, copiously taking notes, falling back to being, like a child. I always like to say, explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old, assume I don't know anything, right? And, also following a routine as far as how you do things as well at work, right? So it provides almost a feeling of comfort. You kind of have an idea how things would be. And like I said, on the off days, how the story ends basically is that I'm able to feel like I'm contributing more. It's not so much the imposter syndrome, but the performance syndrome, right? When you're able to fall back on notes, like I said, I relentlessly take notes. Our conversation yesterday that we had have the full notes of what that was, right? So one is able to fall back on that. And even on those days where there's pressure, even on those days where you might feel like things are a bit off, it really helps you to be able to still go to your A game, or at least your B game,
Interesting. Thank you so much, Ladi. What I took from that, make your bed, take notes. Nice one. Wambura, I've always wondered what a day in the life of an artist looks like. Do you have like a story to share with us? You see this, you mentioned the challenge of showing up. Can you tell us one scenario where that challenge and any one of the ones that our panelists have mentioned, like it was there and it was about to threaten you bringing your awesomeness to your fans? What did that look like?
I have many stories, but
I can imagine.
I'm going to, narrow it down. So this was actually at the beginning of the pandemic. 2020 started nicely. January, awesome. February, fantastic. March, we were like, what's happening? And then our government here in Kenya, they were like, and now we are officially on lockdown. Nothing is happening. So for us musicians who had gigs aligned, we were like, okay, that's confusing because what's supposed to happen now? Like lockdown, no public gatherings, no nothing. Okay. So what? And no one is trying to explain anything. But just like COVID, terrible. Just time out. So between March, April, May, June, that was a very difficult time for me. But luckily, I had a conversation with somebody who helped me see a very different perspective. But that will come to later. So you're waking up, you are ready for a gig, you're just ready. Hey, we have a gig on Saturday. Now you don't have a gig on Saturday. So you're like, okay, what are we gonna do that we don't have a gig on Saturday? Let's sleep? No, because your brain was already wired. Okay, let's practice. No, what are you practicing with yourself with no band? Like really? So the 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 shift from doing things live to coming to a place where we're doing absolutely nothing was extremely depressing. It was like, oh God, the world is over. The world is ended because for a long time, as as musicians, as a musician, I couldn't imagine not having a physical audience to like how now like I'm singing to the screen. No. So anyway, Instagram came in handy, and someone told me, okay, you know what? There are still people online. More people are online now more than ever. So I was like, okay, let's try something new. But it required me to have such a big mind shift because you're used to one thing and then it's like a stream. The water is going like this. But if a stick comes and blocks it, the stream will have to keep moving. It will just change direction. So I needed to face another direction. So for a while, I was doing like Instagram live gigs, just little, hey, let's sing to make us feel better. Sorry, you're feeling lonely or whatever, let's, come together in the music. So the 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 challenge of the time was not that there is no audience. No, there was an audience for the music. There was. The only difference is they were not physically present. So for me, in that and that time I needed to shift my mind. My mindset needed to change. So that I'm like, okay, I can't high five my audience. I can't say hi. It's a different kind of high. It's now virtual. And now getting comfortable with that shift was now the challenge. So what did that require me to do? To think about the gigs I would be doing. Okay, now I was planning to sell 300, 500 tickets. Okay, how's that gonna be different? Because okay, the internet is available to everybody. Instagram hadn't developed like the secret thing where you can have a secret, and Zoom hadn't kicked in as much. So how am I going to get revenue? So now it shifted my mind. I had to shift my mind to the point where I was like, okay, we are going to find a way to make money as musicians. How? Online. Okay, how? We have a till where people can buy me coffee or something like this. Okay, cool. And I don't be afraid of saying, buy me coffee because I need to, just be like, I'm sweating because you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm a beggar. No, I'm a musician. I'm supposed to be distinguished. Just those mind games. You're like, oh my God, just the challenge in changing to being a remote artist was my mind. Really, really, really. And I think it's very common for musicians. The mind is like, it's a movie up in there. And I feel like as artists, we think more intensely or like process or over process. Everything is just like a factory up in here. So sometimes we have the tools, but then because we overanalyze and paralyze, just over, the overs.
Absolutely.
We become so stuck. And
Absolutely.
for me, that was something I had to like fight through. And then realizing, okay, I'm not just a musician, I'm a teacher. Gosh, wow.
Mm,
I can teach something because people want to learn something new.
mhm,
I mean, gosh, offer
mhm,
it.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so it's the mind. It's the mind. It's the mind. It's the
I, wa-
mind.
I
I
was
don't
wondering if
know.
he was going to switch it up and give us a melody.
It's the mind. The mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. The mind, right? Being that
Mm,
that need to be malleable,
mhm,
like water. I love how you use that analogy. Water would always, find its level. You can have a building here, right in the place where water used to flow. Come back in 100 years, somehow the water will be going, but eventually that building will come down.
mhm.
Water will keep moving. I love that. I love that. And for some of us that have really, really struggled with this, I'm sure you can also draw parallels to your life. That, I mean, we all went through the pandemic together, unless you were quite literally living under a rock. And so I can imagine, that need to reinvent ourselves. Some of us are even just still figuring it out now, trying to figure it out now. So I don't know, Paris, what would you say to people like that, people who are in the game right now, struggling and trying to rewrite their mind and rewrite their approach? What would be
Yeah,
your, I don't know, snippets?
I, I think the first thing that I would say is that it's okay. Like, it's okay that you're figuring it out. That's the first thing I would say to them. And that the people that you compare yourself to in your mind when you say, oh my gosh, this person has it all figured out, they are struggling as well. And I think that's like one of the, as a young person, a young African, that is, I'm still in my 20s. And so that is one of the challenges I think that we face a lot, because there's so many things you don't know about you. There's so many things you don't know about yourself. There are things that you're discovering along the line. There are days you wake up in the morning and you feel, oh my God, I haven't done all of these things and I have all of these things to do, and you don't know where to start from. You don't know how to go about it. And you beat yourself up because you don't know. And you beat yourself up because like you feel like you're dropping the ball on many things. I feel like for those people, the first thing is it's okay. Take a deep breath. Sometimes it's fine to step away from everything and take a moment for yourself. And you need to know that even those mentors you're looking up to, even those big people, they also are figuring things
Have
out.
it
And
figured
that's part of being human. It's the journey, it's the process, and it's fine. So I think I that is what I would say to them.
Interesting. I love that. It's okay. We're all just sick people in need of a physician. even even your mentors and your panelists, forget the fact that they look nice on the posters that brought you
Yeah,
here. As you can
looking
see,
cool. You see.
we're all just winging this, right? I
Yeah.
love that. I don't know about you, but that warms my heart to make me know that I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. Laddie, what would you add to that for people who are struggling to really get into that rhythm?
I think I would say if you are actually struggling, it's a sign that you're doing something that you should be doing. If you're not struggling, you're probably not challenging yourself.
Mm,
You're probably sitting in your comfort zone, and you've become the big fish in what would now be a small pond, right? So
mm,
yeah, so if you are struggling, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you need to keep struggling. I think just getting used to the feeling that this is normal, like Prowess said, I think is a first step. And then,
mhm,
basically, again, I'm going to go back to it. You sort of try to create structure for yourself. Try to find ways to create structure, and so that you can always fall back to that structure, right? You will always, or you should always feel move between feeling like you're struggling and feeling like you've got it, and it's okay if that sort of pattern keeps repeating itself.
mhm.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting point, Ladi. I just want to double down on that statement structure. We've been hearing that word be thrown around a bit. Um, I don't know if you can. You mentioned a few techniques from taking notes and whatnot. Can we build a house on that? What are some of the other, I don't know, structures that you guys think people can bring into their daily routines? Please bear in mind there are people on this call that are in different industries. I don't know who wants to take a stab at that.
I think I can.
Sure.
Yeah, so one thing that I would say, and absolutely like creating structure. And personally for me, one challenge I always had with remote work when I had to shift to remote work was I wasn't able to make a difference in my day. So I was doing so many things, like I would work and be at my laptop all day and then wake up the next morning and work all day. And so I couldn't make a difference between my off times and my on times, my work times and my personal time. So I think one tip that I use that has been very helpful for me is separating where I work in my house. So basically, my room is for relaxing and watching a movie and sleeping and all of that. But my workstation is a whole other thing, which is like in a separate location. And it doesn't, even if you live in like a small house, you can create like a workspace for yourself. And it really makes a difference knowing when I'm at my desk, when I'm looking at my monitor, when I'm in a separate place from my room, I'm not, I'm doing work. And when I'm on my bed and doing something else, then that's my personal time. So I think making that separation in your life, and it can be that way. It could be also setting like times, like your switch off times. So that also has been really helpful. Or maybe on Sundays you dedicate Sundays are family time, or something like that. So creating those separative structures or walls. It's, I guess it sounds cliche, but it really is helpful. If not, you just, that's the danger with doing the type of work that we do. You sit at your laptop all day, so you don't know the difference between like work and personal time. So I think that is one that helps me. Uh,
I have
Amazing.
one.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
I have one. Well, mine is like a whole. So I was speaking to my coach, and she shared with me that because as a creative person, it's very easy to want to grab everything in the bucket and be like, I have things to do, you know? So she shared with me the importance of literally breaking down. She said, write a list of all the things you want to do. Gosh, they were like 12. I was like, I wanna fly, I wanna sleep, I wanna, I had like things, so many. And I imagined that I needed to do every single one of them immediately.
Mm,
So she said, okay, take two of the highest priority in that list. That was
mm,
hard, but I was like, no brainer. I picked teaching, recording. She said, good. Now take one and break it down from the top, from the first general idea to the most specific thing. So, for example, teaching, what she did is she was like, take teaching. Okay, good. What do you want to teach? Okay, voice classes and theory. Good. All right. So, how many students do you need? What time do you need to
mm.
have your students? What do you need to do before you get your students? How will you market it? When will you like, it was painful, guys. It was painful. And she said, don't start anything until everything is written to the last moment. Okay, very good. Plan for your 10 lessons. I said, really? She was like, till the last lesson. Goodbye and thank you for attending classes. That lesson, till the last lesson. Said, oh gosh, it's painful. And she was like, good. Now, she was like, plan the dates you're going to advertise. Like it was
Specific.
excruciatingly specific, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, now you've planned it, execute it. The
Ish.
moment and she was like, follow the plan, follow it, follow every order, every step. Okay, when you finish the step, go to the next step. And she
Mm,
said, if you want it to stick, use it for 60 to 90 days, then move
mm,
on to a new project. And I was like, why? She was like, because when you do something for 60 to 90 days, it
mm.
sticks. then it becomes autopilot. It can run itself. Then you move to now the next thing. Excruciating. Just ping, ping. But because you've gone through the first one, you've built a muscle. So you can lift a heavier weight.
So,
You know? So that
mm,
is something for me that like literally changed
yeah,
like my whole perspective on remote working and the challenges that come with it as an artist or as a creative person or someone who wants to
yeah,
do a billion things, you know?
yeah.
Once I was able to like literally do pam 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 pam, pam till the last class. For one thing, I was able to add more programs. I was able to add people into the because I say, hi, we have a plan. This is the structure. Look at it. Flow. And it worked. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a
Amazing.
minute. I suffered, but it's producing fruits and I'm not melting, you know. So
Melty.
it made life so much easier because then I could set aside time to be with my kids. I could set
Right.
aside time to go for rehearsals, for
Mm,
meetings. You know, it was
mm,
magical,
yeah,
excruciating in the beginning. I
in
need
the
to
beginning.
stress the pain. My
Uh,
eyelids were, I felt like, because I would think, okay, I've reached the end of planning. She'd be like, no,
nope, you can
you
go
need to
deeper.
plan the time. I was like, woo.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
And just doing that made the world of a difference. So I
Love
could
it.
now take on other projects because I created one
Bandwidth.
structure for
Right,
one thing. So I
right.
could start another structure. And really, the thing that 60 to 90 days it sticks.
Hmm.
It becomes part of you. You're like, oh, I know what to do here.
I know
And
what
you
to
don't have to
do.
think. Then
It's
it
like riding
allows you
a
to
bike.
do so many multiple things. It was tough at first because I wanted to do everything. I honestly have the thing where I'm like, I believe I am an octopus and I can one hand, two hands,
Uh,
and six
uh,
others
uh,
without, you know.
uh, you're
But
shaking.
like I was, it that grounded me to know, okay, if one thing can work successfully, it
Like
can
this.
sustain the others that I want to do that I'm like, you know. So
Love it. Love it.
yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Wambura. Basically, plan. Break it down to the minutest detail. And when you feel like you're stuck, go deeper some more. During execution mode, you'll be glad you did because you'll just fly and keep that routine going for at least 60 days. And then it becomes second nature. I love it. I love it. And while you say it, even me, I'm looking at my life, I'm like, hey, I have a lot of reevaluation to do this weekend. Some of you that know me, you know that, hey, Oluchi is what has more than 8 tentacles? That's probably me. So need to relook at all of that. And Paris, thank you so much. This idea of blocks, so physical block separation, time block, work time, play time, and then relationship blocks, time for my bosses, time for my significant other, time for my family, right? Really, really helpful. Very, very simple techniques, but I'm sure everyone listening are like, actually, that makes so much sense. Why am I not doing it again? I love it. And thanks, Ladi, for making us feel comfortable. If you're struggling, you're probably in a good space. You're in good company, right? Because it means that you're trying to stretch yourself. I think Wambura, there was something you said, you didn't quite call it out, but I want to throw it out there that imagine what your life would have been like on this journey of figuring it out if you didn't have a coach. I'm just going to leave that thought there because that's another perspective, right? We're all in this together, right? None of us knows it all, and that's part of why we're on this call, learning from each other, right? And I get asked a lot of times by young people who would either reach out for you to mentor them, or you see someone and you're like, I want to be involved in your life, and they're like, Richie, I don't really do all this like mentorship coaching thing. Is like, do those things even work? You just got your answer. if if an award-winning music artist like Wambura still sees the need to go and be accountable to a coach, I'm just gonna leave that hanging there before they say Oluchi is entering sales mode. So switching gears a bit, we're gonna switch gears a bit to more of like the team kind of conversation. What all of this looks like in teams. But I see that a handful of questions have dropped on the chat, and I just want to take one or two in a minute. 1 second. Right. So how do I measure effectiveness of my performance management system? And so I assume that question means, if I set some of these structures in place, how do I know that they're effective? Or should I just be happy that, okay, I've set it in place. Yay, I'm better than 60% of people out there. Yay. How do I know it's effective? The man who mentioned structure a lot, Mr. Mamba himself, what would you say to, thank you so much for that question, Juliet.
I think that's a great question. It's great to be thinking that way, that person actually has a great mindset. And what I always say to that, or what I have found, is feedback. You need to identify almost, shall I say, feedback points, right, ahead of time where you can, and try to go to them regularly to see if things are tracking the way you expect them to be. Mm-hmm. Depends on the situation, depends on the industry, depends on the scenario. It's a bit difficult to give a one size fits all, but one way to do that is just try and figure out, stakeholders that you can go to, for stakeholders that, for lack of a better term, matter in terms of the outcomes that you're trying to achieve, and then be able to go back to them, for feedback. And quite a lot of the time, people are happy to give you feedback. It might be from their perspective, but that's great to know, right? At least you know how you're tracking in those areas. The other thing as well is sometimes the outcomes somewhat speak for themselves, right? So if you're seeing that you're moving in the direction of the outcomes that you are looking for, so that's also a form of feedback, right? It lets you know that, okay, yeah, I wanted to knock this down. I've knocked this down. So, that makes sense as well. So yeah, that's what I would say for that question. I hope it makes sense. You're on mute, Oluchi.
Oh my goodness. Hi, can you hear me? Apologies. Absolutely, Ladi. That makes a lot of sense. And I will throw this second question to Prowess. Prowess, everything Ladi just said is great. The feedback and what Wabua said about breaking it down and putting time to everything. But this question is gold. What happens if my boss owns my time?
Nice one. I see what you did there, Oluchi. Yep. I see. Yeah, Oluchi threw this question at me because I've been in interesting situations in the past. But yeah, I think the first thing is a mindset shift, in the sense that your boss is a human being, and if he owns your time, I think part of it is because you gave it to him. Like, it sounds a bit, but so you have to. Okay, I understand that sometimes you work in situations where your boss is not as understanding or as empathetic, or he wants to take. But I think that's the thing with human beings. It's like the more you allow, the more people will take. So there is like a mindset shift there, where you have to ask yourself, what are the things that are important to me? What are the other things apart from work that I want to show up for? What are the things that I want to do? And then, knowing the constraints of work and the kind of person your teammates are, or the kind of people your teammates are, and who your boss is, then you have to create it for yourself, and then communicate or tell them or give them access to you when you want them to have access to you. For instance, I'm going to be very practical. I had a situation where I had a boss who was always demanding my time so much, and I decided, when it's 10 p.m., I don't want to do any work anymore. So I started doing this thing where I used the do not disturb feature on my phone. And I would I would set it up, and then it just, and I think I did that for WhatsApp, especially because my boss used to enjoy messaging me on WhatsApp a lot in the past, I think a long time ago. And so I used the do not disturb feature. And then the next day, when I come to work, I turn it on in the morning or 9 o'clock. And I come to work and they ask me, oh, I tried to reach you. I'd be like, oh, really? Well, what was the problem? and and then we solve it. At the end, like I feel like even if there's fire burning, it's work. And so when you can't get to it, you get to it. If you fall sick on the job, they would replace you and move on, and the work will still go on. That's something that I have to always tell myself. So if there are things where if you're in a situation where there's someone who keeps demanding your time and they refuse to understand or they refuse to learn that this time is for you, then you make them learn it and you create the system. You use the do not disturb feature on your phone. You set specific times when you are not accessible. If the person cannot reach you, they will they will adjust. After a while, people will get the message. If someone notices a pattern where you do not respond to emails until 8 a.m., after a while, they would realize that, okay, maybe I shouldn't be reaching her at 8 a.m. Maybe I should send her a message at 2 p.m. or something like that. And yeah, I understand that it can be very challenging when you're young and trying to build a career, but you will, it's up to you to create the system and to reduce the access certain people have to you if you notice that they take too much of your energy and mental capacity.
Very, very interesting points, Ladi and Prowess. That table that you're shaking sounds like a double-edged sword, but it's a very, very, very vital point. I used to have a boss years ago that she would use this statement. She would say, Oluchi, you cannot help it if people want to be potatoes, but you can decide how to teach them to deal with you. Right? And it was always so empowering. And I guess the trick there is learning how to do these things in a way that is still respectful and it still passes across your message. But then the other side is pretty interesting because the chicken and egg thing. If you're not creating these healthy boundaries, right, your performance starts slipping. And it's the same boss that will come at you during performance review time. So trying to create these boundaries, but also making sure that, with that extra bandwidth, as Wabura mentioned, you're pushing it into work. And so you're bringing your A game. After a while, the people on the other side start going, okay, she's delivering the work. I mean, she didn't answer me 3 nights in a row. She did pretty good work. And that's where the behavioral conditioning starts happening. Yes, Paris, you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to add to what you said, I think another issue that we tend to have is as young people, because I keep using young people because, like, from the perspective of someone who doesn't have as much experience, but we always forget that we need to communicate as well with these bosses. So if you have like 100 things on your table and they keep throwing it at you, at some point you need to walk up to your team lead or whoever and say, well, I have all these things you asked me to do. I can't do all these things. I can only do 10 things. So which one do you want me to actually do? Then he can actually guide you in prioritizing, or he or she can guide you in prioritizing properly, because that's a personal challenge I face every day, even till today, knowing what is most important. And sometimes you don't have that clarity for yourself because you have other stakeholders. So you need to approach this person and be comfortable with being vulnerable and communicating your struggles and saying, I can't do all these things. I'm sorry. What is most important? And I'll get to that. And for the others, you have to wait until I'm, my table is free or my desk is freed up so I can attend to them.
So let me just jump in on that because I think that's a very, very, very important point that Prowess just dropped very casually there. Like it's, sometimes when you drop, the way you carry goals, people might think it's not valuable. Like you just, carrying it casually or you drop it casually, people might think it's valuable. That is a very, very, very valuable point. So Oluchi, I like the way you framed it, where you said you have to teach people how to kind of work with you. Like if you don't, that's going to be a problem. But I was just going to add to that I've actually seen practical, real life experiences where the person that is doing the most is the person that's being seen as having the worst performance, right? Because the person is not asking for help, and the extent to which you are able to provide a quality deliverable and cater to too many people, right? So you cater to everybody, or you cater to every single thing thrown at you. The likelihood that you'll be able to give it the quality that each one of those things requires becomes lower. And then the same people that gave you the 10 things to do, or the same 20 different people that were saying, oh yeah, he took my work, are the same people that would tell you that that person performance terrible.
This quarter.
Performance terrible. So it's either you allow them to make you terrible, or you decide to be excellent at what you can be excellent at.
I love it. I love it. And Ladi, that's a drops mic moment. Retweet. Retweet that. I love it. And that's a fantastic segue, right? Being excellent at what you can be excellent at. And perhaps you also throwing a buzzword there around having multiple stakeholders and the best way to manage them. And so if I join those two things together, Wambura, what does team dynamics look like in your world? If anybody has to bring their A game and every performance has to be excellent, and at the same time, we imagine that, yes, while you might be the frontliner on posters for people who are coming to your concerts, in the background, there's a whole army of people that have to make things happen. Can you give us a snapshot, shall we call it behind the scenes, of what the chaos looks like? Typical.
Okay. So, as a musician, I'm going to deal with the musician side. So, as a musician, you have, let's say we are doing an online concert in this case, right? Because we are dealing with a remote life. So, we are doing an online concert, but what happens is we the musicians have to find each other behind, so that what you see is an online thing. So we have, let's say in my case, I have a band, and for the band to happen, we need the person to provide the backline. So that is the drums and the bass and the guitars and the amps, And then there's the sound engineer who has to come. Now, sound engineer, there may be one or two. Cool, no. Then there's the venue. Unless you're doing it in your living room, you need a place where it's nice and cute. So there's that person you have to deal with. And then there is, there's the logistics human, because you, as the person who is, let's say in my case, I'm the band leader, I will not be the one looking for meals, because we have to make the music happen. And so there has to be a friend to do logistics. Like, oh, have you eaten? Oh, here is water, that person. Then sound equipment, and then there'll be the person who's recording, right? The film crew. So these are, and then there's the security guy who will let you into the place. There's a whole network of human beings,
Wow.
The thing about it is, something I've learned is, like, when you're in a position where you're either leading a team or in a team, the most effective thing which the two panelists in this joint have shared is communication. If you are not good in communicating, you will have problems. So many problems. So many.
Dislike.
Because, oh my God, there will be so many problems. Because, one, if people don't know what you want or what you want to achieve, they will not help you achieve what needs to be achieved. People, sometimes we imagine people are magicians, that they can read minds.
You just know.
No. Even our friends, our closest friends, they are not magicians. We have to be like, hi, I would like a cup of tea. I don't know. Some things don't come automatically to everybody, and that's okay, because sometimes we place expectations on people that are outrageous. Okay, so communication is so important in such a setting. Now, Communicate also is another thing, because maybe where I'm from, we just speak loose and just talk rudely to one another. This one is, you have to see the world around you and be like, hey, practice kindness, gentleness, just zen,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because no one will be mad at you if you speak to them in a kind, calm, gentle, zen way.
Yeah.
There are people who won't mind if you're like, come here, you crazy part. There are people who won't mind that, but there are more people who'd be like, why are you talking to me like that? So how you communicate is so, oh my God, it's so important. So how I speak to my band members, how I speak to the security person, how I speak to the camera guy, how I speak to the sound man, how I speak to the logistics people, simple thing like thank you, oh my gosh, thank you for being here, thank you, wow, it's amazing. Thank you for helping me with these cables.
Yeah.
No one is allergic to thank you. Nobody feels bad when
Mm,
they're thanked.
I love this.
No one is like,
Regardless.
oh my God, never thank me. Nobody. Thank you is the most simple, underrated thing ever. Oh, wow. Thank you for your feedback. Okay. Um, how would you like us to proceed? Or even if it's like an opposing thing, like maybe this microphone needs to be louder. No, thank you for that
Thank you for
observation.
that observation.
Maybe we should do it the way I want it. Kindly. Thanks, though. Like
I love it.
you have communication is like woo, like it's the maker or breaker of a gig, a
Mm,
maker or breaker of like my little cute organization of my band, or like and just understanding how each person likes to be spoken to. It's a lot of work,
yeah.
but it pays off.
Yep.
If
Yep.
I know you like to sit down when you're talking, I will bring you to sit. I say, hi, let's talk. I would like you not
Yep.
to play those notes. I would like you to
Yep.
do this. Please, is it possible? Thank you for what you're doing. That person who is okay with being sat down and being told gently will do their
Amazing.
best,
Yep.
will do the
Yep.
most amazing thing.
Yep.
Understanding how each person likes to be spoken to
Yep.
is in the team is like
Very important.
a thank you is that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
understanding this is how they like to be told something. This is
Yeesh.
how they understand best. And some people you can just tell them straight, okay, don't play that. And they'll be like, cool. And then they'll play amazingly. And then someone will be like,
Yeah.
okay, this person likes to be affirmed first, affirm them, and then tell them, okay,
And then
you're doing
tell
such a good
them.
job with those
Mm,
those lights.
yep.
Maybe can
Yep.
we change the lighting from blue to green? I think you
Yep.
do agree. Then they'll be like, immediately,
We
yes,
did
just
on
working for you.
steroids.
So just it's so communication is so maker or
Or
breaker
breaker.
of the thing. So that then, when everyone feels thanked and feels like they are part of the team, we have an
Mm,
amazing production, an
mm,
amazing thing
I love
where the
it.
audience is like, wow, even beyond the excellent quality, I feel love coming out of the
I
screen.
right.
You
Right.
know, because if the atmosphere in the recording is not good, it will
You
spill
can
out.
tell.
It will show.
You can
It
tell.
will show in the
Yeah.
outcome. It will show. So if
Yeah.
in our little organization there's no care for each other, it will show in our
Yep.
results. It always
Yep.
shows, and
Yep.
it's important for goodness and niceness and gentleness and zen and
And all of
care to show
yes.
to the audience.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that
Absolutely.
answers your question.
No, it oh well, Bura, it it makes dollars, not even cents. I mean,
Awesome.
awesome, awesome. And as Africans, we have this thing, but I'm sure it's said differently in different cultures that you can tell a food that has been cooked with love. Yeah, when you taste the food, you know if the chef was angry or if they cooked it with love. And I think that just sums it, right? It's clear. When as a music artist, when we vibe to jams, we know that this this artist and the team behind them, everybody was just in sync. Like this, well done. and thanks for calling out something. It's almost like you've been immersed in Verindo for the past few weeks. Because funny you mentioned this, when we started this series around remote work, sometime in September, we did like 2 weeks where we did a deep dive on the role of effective communication to leading effectively the remote work. Like we had the whole shebang, including understanding personality types and how different communication styles, the 4 main styles, are when to be assertive, when to be the kind of people who respond more to amiable types of communication styles, the kinds that are more expressive, the future thinker that just are more charismatic, and those that are very analytical. If you don't start with numbers, you've lost them, right? So we did a bit of those, and we did some role play to understand the different types of people in the room, and looked at techniques to tweak structure. So it's great you mentioned that, and off the top of my head, I'm thinking in the coming weeks we'll probably bring that back again to the wider audience, because it cannot be overemphasized. And so on that note, therefore, for Ladi, right, what would you say? Can you give us an example, right? A real world example, because you're always dealing with people that have deep pockets, people that control global economies, quite literally. Can you give us an example of one of such scenarios where the team dynamics that Wambura just explained came to the fore, like the need for the handshakes to be smooth and love and everything in the background came to the fore, and it was instrumental in deciding the outcome of the project, whether positive or negative? Do you have one of those stories? You're on mute.
If I go into my CIA files and I change the names of the, how do they say it? Change the names to protect the innocent.
The stories are real, but the names have been changed.
There you go. So I recall a situation where there was, and the different type of teams. I think Wambura was 1000% spot on communication, and communication comes in different forms. But at the end of the day, what it is you are trying to pass across some information, usually about a shared vision or feedback about something that affects a shared vision. But you're also trying to receive information, which is another part that is great to also emphasize, which I think she touched on as well, right? You want to be understood. I think there's the popular motivational phrase, seek first to understand, so that, or because you want to be understood, right? So I said all that to say this. One of the projects that I've worked on in the past, I think it had to do with participants across different organizations. And I'll start with the end. The project sort of failed. It sort of failed. Failure being that there was an instance where there was a timeline within which a specific outcome was required, right? We wanted to get this done by this time, right? And based on doing the normal things you do in project management, and you put all these things and delivery and tools and all these things are very important, right? Didn't work. People that were supposed to do certain things just didn't do them. And now taking it back and analyzing why, what I discovered in this particular instance was that some of the participants or some of the organizations involved did not fully understand how this movement, this direction that we were going in, actually fed into their lives, their corporate business and corporate priorities. How did it move the needle for them? They didn't fully understand it. Even though this project did or was meant to achieve that. The other thing was that in terms of the communication, sometimes you feel that you're doing stuff for everyone. I'm doing this because for you, I want you to, so let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And there's a tendency that you may bulldoze people in your eagerness to create outcomes you think that they want. And I think what we found out in this instance was that that approach did not work. I had to sit and listen. I still had to come back to the table afterwards and sit and listen and understood the context. I don't want to get too technical. I'm trying to keep the technical aspects out of it. But, you know, some of these organizations did have somewhat of a risk, a concern for risk based on the direction that we're going in. And had they pursued things the way that we wanted them to, they would have opened themselves up to a huge risk challenge, right? So it was kind of like, let's just pull the brakes on that while we're trying to understand what these guys are talking about. So had we paused and not only been speaking to them, but then allowed them also to communicate their concerns, communicate where there were challenges, we would have factored that in, right? And would it have taken a longer time? With the benefit of hindsight now, I know, yes, it would have taken a longer time, but it wouldn't have taken as long as what actually happened, which was literally having to do that project twice, right? So communication, 1000% important. You want to make sure it's going both ways. You are communicating well and nicely. You are kind of painting a shared vision that people can key into, but at the same time, you're also getting feedback, you're understanding where these people fit, what is their own perspective, how do they see it? Indeed, if I don't know how they see it, I can't correct their view or adjust mine. So
right. Fantastic point. So what I'm hearing, thanks for that, Ladi, is that, see, I'm practicing what Wambura said. Thank you, Ladi. What I'm hearing is that, you know, for any team to achieve and maintain the status of high performance, communication. I think, you know, both of you have echoed that. Just figuring out how team members can remove frictions that somewhat come to the fore when communication is involved. So frictionless communication amongst team members, from team leads to the team members, like bottom up, lateral, communicate, even over communicate. I don't even know if I'm hearing that there's no problem in over communicating as they deal with each other, right? It's better that way. And so I'm going to ask Prowess in the next few minutes, right? Because there was an interesting question that popped up while we were talking, and that's really around. I'm going to ask two, right? Number one is, what's the role with all of this English, right? Within the context of a team, what's the role of an individual? What's the place of individual responsibility when we talk about peak performance of the team, right? How are those things related? Shouldn't it only be the issue of the concern of the boss when we talk about team performance? Now it should be the team lead that should be concerned about everything we're saying here. What's the place for individual performance? That's one question. And then secondly, we've talked a lot about showing up. Showing up. No, let me not ask you that one. Let me ask you the other one that has to do with spontaneity, right? So are you saying that if I'm a spontaneous person, all this talk about structure, plan everything, what if I just want to go with the flow? So I'm doomed. I will never maintain my peak performance. That's what you guys are saying. So Prowess, I'm wondering if you can just quickly, hammer on those two questions.
The spontaneous one is loaded, and I think Wambura has some insights in that area.
I can take that one. So, but you take the other one. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So the first one, the individual performance, it comes back to what I said about walking up to your manager, your team lead. Everyone is responsible in a team, and the team lead is not, I don't think the team lead is a magician or has like 360 vision. So if you are responsible for your own side of the project or the work or whatever it is, and in my case, I'm not in my team, I'm not the team lead, but then I have team leads and project managers that I report to. So I have, my job is to give them visibility on the side of the project that I'm responsible for. So if for some reason I'm not able to deliver on it, I need to communicate that. It still comes back to communication. If for some reason I am unwell, and I feel like I won't be able to meet up with so and so timeline. Early
Yeah.
on, I should communicate that. I also get to give that team lead visibility on how long, or like I want to use reality check on how
Yeah.
long this project will take, because I've been in situations where I had a team lead and a project manager that told a client that we were going to deliver something in 1 month. And in my mind, I was just, it happened twice. The first time I made the mistake of not saying anything, because me being Paris, I was like, yes, so I'm not going to sleep today. I'm going to like drink coffee, and I'm going to, like 1 month is what they told me. 1 month is the law, is the rule of thumb. This is what we're going to do. 1 month. And I took it to heart, and I didn't do it in 1 month, and I felt sick, and I was anxious, and I just nearly died. And they asked me, like, why didn't you say that it couldn't take 1 month? So
Yes.
my responsibility, I realized, because I was the one delivering, I should actually have communicated that, this timeline is a bit unrealistic, because
Just
these and
doesn't
these and these
work.
and these are the different, it just doesn't work. These are the different. And also, one of the things that I have noticed with people in my generation is sometimes we push back without a plan. So we say it's not going to work, full stop,
Finish.
without actually,
There you
and,
go.
and then you leave the person to figure it out, when you should actually come up with a proposal. So when you're saying something isn't going to work, also communicate an idea. You should have, thought about it to a point and say,
Right.
okay, here is how I think we can adjust these and these and these elements, these factors, these features. I think we can deliver these aspects first, and then maybe we can get feedback and come back, or, this is my
Right.
proposal. What do you think? So I think it's
Right.
important to communicate, but also be a self-starter, to have like ownership of the whatever aspect of the team that you're responsible for, and really, really ask for what you need, or let them know if something doesn't work for you. So it still comes down to communication and being proactive with your
Being
communication.
proactive. Fantastic. Communicate, be proactive, and give an alternative. And I think, because while you were talking, the image in my head was that of a Formula One team. For those of us that have seen it, when the drivers go into the pit stop, we used to have one of those videos. Maybe next time we'll play it. But the drivers go into a pit stop, everybody just comes in, because you just have like 30 seconds, change tires, change fuel, change everything. But just imagine if the guy putting the bolts for the tires wasn't able to do it in those 30 seconds. That driver is dead. Lewis Hamilton is dead, right? That small bolt will be the problem. And I think if we all see ourselves from that perspective, I'm the guy who's screwing on the tire. I'm the guy who's changing the fuel. It might look insignificant because I'm not driving the car. However, the person driving the car needs you to be able to bring your A game in those 30 seconds. And if there is going to be a problem, you should communicate before he comes to the pit stop, right? Right. Fantastic. Ladi, because we're almost at time, right? So Ladi, you want to take a stab at that question around spontaneity, and then we will just go around the room, starting with Wambura, for what's your 30 seconds takeaway that you want to leave our audience with. All right. So Ladi, the question around spontaneity.
So the question around spontaneity is I think it's straightforward. No matter how spontaneous you are, you will still have some form of structure. You probably typically wake up around a certain time and probably typically sleep around a certain time. It might be a range, right? But you still have that structure. So I think the answer to the question, just to get straight to the point, is that you can build structure, or rather you can build spontaneity into your structure, right? You give yourself room to move things around in such a way that it still works. And you will have what you probably have like a softer deadlines, but then you recognize that there are some deadlines or structures that are harder, right? And then you allow your spontaneity to work within that framework, right? So if you're able to do that, then, I can decide that I wanted to work on this in the morning, I was going to work on that at night. I can be spontaneous and decide to change that. I can decide that I want to do that on a different day, and on this day I will do this. But then I need to have it in mind that certain things are fixed, and where the spontaneity ends is where that fixed the fixed item stands, right?
Yeah.
So be spontaneous all you like up until you reach that hard line, right? So that's it.
Fantastic. I love it. Thanks a lot for that, Ladi. Really appreciate it. So in terms of key takeaways, your elevator pitch, right? One of the members of our audience jams you in the elevator, you're going from the first floor to the 10th floor, and it takes 20 seconds, and you need to impart their lives something that they will run with for the rest of their lives regarding maintaining their peak performance and that of their teams. Wambura, what's that thing gonna be? You're on mute. We're now on the 3rd floor.
Mute. Okay. The
There you
things are, you can actually do it. You're making it already by being here today. You're making it already. Practically showing up is waking up and then going to the thing. Just even if you don't know what's gonna happen, being there, something will happen. You're already making it. Don't stop. Keep jogging. Keep jogging. Keep
Thank
jogging.
you so much. Thank you so much, Wambura. Quite literally, just show up. Always show up. Even if you don't know what's gonna happen, show up. Something will definitely happen. I love it. Prowess, what's your 30 seconds? From first floor to the 10th
Okay.
floor. Let's go.
Okay, my 30 seconds is that, again, it is okay when you feel overwhelmed or you feel like you are, you're doing really terribly in terms of performance. Breathe, it's okay. We're all going through these challenges. Those people you look up to are going through it. Make time to disconnect from time to time. Make time to switch off. Make time to separate your work life from your personal life. Make time to rest. Make time for yourself and give yourself a break. That's my message. Give yourself a break.
I love it. Give yourself a break and create those blocks, physical, relationship, and time-wise. Love it. Thank you so much, Prowess. Ladi, what's your 30 seconds speech?
I'm going to pick a little bit of what everyone has said. I think, let me frame it with this, that the proof of love is the devotion of time, right? The proof of love is the devotion of time. And so anything, it's okay if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like there's a challenge, it means you are carrying a heavy enough burden, and it's requiring some effort for you to move that burden. So that's actually a good thing. And at the end of the day, if you try to create a structure for yourself, you try to practice certain things, spend time on executing in a certain way. On the off days, all that practice, all the time that you spent will pay off, right? So yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Ladi. The proof of love is a devotion of time. Ooh, I love it. We should make wristbands of that. Thank you so much to our speakers. This has been amazing. I don't know how to thank you guys enough. So many gems of wisdom being dished out here, and so many further conversations that we absolutely need to have. The spark was lit here, but in coming weeks, we'll do a deep dive. Thank you so much, Prowess. Thank you so much, Wambura. Thank you so much, Ladi. In 2 minutes, I'm just gonna go into quick announcements, and then we can get off the call and go into the rest of our day. So, first announcement. If you loved what you heard today, our new managers bootcamp is coming up in January. Basically, we looked at the market last year. We saw that these conversations we've had today, not enough of it is happening at work. First-time managers and soon-to-be managers, and even mid-level managers are being promoted based on technical competencies and have no idea how to navigate things like what we just said today. And so we created a program for that. And it's coming up at the beginning of the year, next year. On your screen is ways that you can sign up. And I'm sure in the chat, the links will be sent. And on all of our social media channels, please share with your friends. And yeah, next announcement, please. To stay connected, if you like what you heard today, there's a lot more coming up in the coming weeks. So follow us on social media, absolutely. And everybody is going to receive an email for attending this. You're going to receive an email on how to join our community. So we do have a thriving community going on where people share ideas and keep the conversations growing. And you would also be the first people to hear about the next fireside chat and that kind of stuff. So feel free to join. Looking forward to keep the conversations going. Stay connected with Mr. Ladi on Instagram, ePayment Guru, of course, Ladowski on Twitter, Ladi Ogunsilere on LinkedIn. Follow him. Wambura, follow her on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Just type her name on YouTube and jam away like we were jamming at the beginning of this call. You're not going to regret it. She has amazing music. And last but not in any way the least, stay connected with Prowess. We need to make all these people famous so more Africans will hear all of this good stuff. Thank you so much, everybody. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions. All right? And thanks to our speakers once again. Now we give you back your time. Go save the world.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thanks, Ladi. Thanks, Wabura. Thank you, Prowess.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for having us. Bye.